And that's when I say that, what got them for the first maybe 3, 4, 5 years will not help them get to the next level. And that's where interventions are required to take them to the next level.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Coaches on the Couch. Today we have with us Sandhya Bhat, who has over 20 years of experience of helping businesses align their people practices to business goals. She has played different roles from being an HR to a corporate consultant to now moving on to coaching. She does not believe in providing cookie cutter methods and customizes the solutions for the SMEs based on where the SME is on their journey. With her approach, she has helped several SMEs achieve different breakthroughs. She likes to be called a learner in the journey of life. And today she will be sharing with us about entrepreneur mindset. So welcome Sandhya on Coaches on the Couch, and we would like to know more about you, about your journey in these 23 years that you shared with me, and now I would request you to share the same with the audience.
Thank you, Pratishtha, for having me on this session. It's really nice to connect with you. And thank you for all the nice words that you've said about me. So, yes, my journey has been interesting. It's been at least about 20 years that I've been in this very beautiful journey of working with people, collaborating with different individuals and entrepreneurs. Uh, so, like you said, the first 10 to 12 years were in the corporate segment, and then it was for the past 8 years that I've now decided to focus on the SME segment. I truly believe that there is a lot of good work that can be done there. Lot of businesses that are really coming up, and very interesting, passionate leaders, business owners, entrepreneurs. And my endeavor now is to work with them to help them to take their business to a different level. And I truly believe that what got them here will not get them there. So the focus is on helping them to move ahead in this journey of business and entrepreneurship.
So Sandhya, when you say what got them here won't get them in the next part of the journey, we would like to understand what do you mean by that.
Sure. A lot of businesses, when they start, Pratishtha, they have a lot of energy, they have a lot of passion. The entrepreneur comes with a very, very passionate mindset, and he has a very clear vision, that he wants to do this. He also has the product expertise. He may not have some funding at that point of time, but the whole organization is in a different energy bubble at that point of time, and they succeed. They come to a certain point and they've got everything in place. They necessarily don't have a structure to handle things like performances, scaling up, career development, training, learning and development, right? It all happens because of the entrepreneur's passion and vision, and that can get them to a certain level. Typically, in my experience, I have seen that when they reach a certain employee strength of about, let's say, of about 70 or 100, or even lesser, in fact, that's the time where the entrepreneur or the owner really feels that now it's going beyond his or her control. There has to be systems, processes, and then the question of scale arises. So when you talk of scale, the scale has to be such that it is sustainable, it is transformational, and the people sort of grow with it. And that's the time that you've got to have your structures in place, your systems in place. And that's when I say that, what got them for the first maybe 3, 4, 5 years will not help them get to the next level. And that's where interventions are required to take them to the next level.
Sandhya, so I see a lot of entrepreneurs, like you said, that once they reach a certain strength of people, they start feeling overwhelmed, and because they don't have a process to scale up, they end up failing. That's why so many of the organizations are failing in their first 10 years. So what solutions do they need to implement in order to scale up, and why they should invest in people? Because I feel that they still don't have that mindset of investing in the people. So why they need to invest in people?
That's a very valid point, and I have seen this myself. There are a lot of entrepreneurs who believe that they can do it and that they can manage with just their passion or their vision. But what happens is that after a certain point of time, the entrepreneur or the leader does not have the bandwidth to really get into all the aspects of the company management. If you're going to hire people with expertise from outside, they would necessarily come in with the expectation of working with an organization that is very, very clued into the normal or into different ways of working. People need a structure to grow. People need a mechanism to know what is this whole performance matrix that is going to impact their careers. They will definitely want to know where their careers would be. So when I started working with the entrepreneurs, one thing that I realized very quickly on was that there cannot be one fit solution to everybody. The reason being that most of these entrepreneurs come from different backgrounds, right? So if you look at the clientele that I've had very creative organizations, I have had IT organizations, I have worked with real estate companies, and each of these organizations has a different cultural nuance that runs through them. um, when I came in from the corporate sector, I came from an IT background, right? I had to unlearn everything that I had learned and then move on to the creative space. Because if you work with an advertising agency, they are not going to accept your HR processes and forms and methodologies in a very welcoming manner because they're not used to it, right? They don't see the benefit. They're used to being creative. Their world is abstract. Um, Now, when I started working, so my first assignment, if I were to say, was with an advertising agency, and I that agency I worked with as a consultant for about 8 years. It was a huge learning for me as well because I had to unlearn a lot of things. You know, I there was no black or white. It had to be in different shades that I had to interact with people. Uh, so, so again, what is important here is that what will work for an IT SME will not work for an advertising SME or for a real estate company, so on and so forth. And so every solution or every HR proposition that had to be put forth to them had to appeal to their culture and to their sensibilities. And that is where I think a leader has a huge role to play in even understanding what is the vision for his organization and what is the vision for the people of that organization, existing and who will come and join them later.
So, Sandhya, you mentioned some really great points here, and you also mentioned about a very important and a very important skill, I would say, that is unlearning. So, when you started unlearning what you had learned in the corporate world for 13 years, how difficult it was, and who helped you? Was there someone who really influenced you in, or helped you in unlearning?
Yeah, believe me, it's a very difficult thing, especially when you have to unlearn things that you hold very dearly to your heart. Having trained in being an MBA graduate and trained in the field of HR, suddenly you are working with organizations that don't necessarily see the value of the corporate way of working. Uh, it was difficult for me to answer your question. It was very difficult for me. There were a lot of times that there were a lot of differences of opinion with the business stakeholders, and I said no, but why can't this is what the benefit of this intervention would be. And the team would say no, but we don't need this. We don't need performance reviews. We are quite happy with the way we are. Breaking the ice with them was a journey, was a very detailed sort of self-reflective practice that I had to do for myself. And I've had different mentors. I read a lot of books. What helped me, Pratishtha, was to understand their mindset. you know, when I could see where they are coming from, what is the space that they are coming from, that I think helped me to understand their emotions, their mindsets better. And I spoke to different people. I spoke to people from different industries, spoke to different consultants. So there have been many mentors who've helped me in this journey.
So, Sandhya, many people underestimate the importance of having mentors in their life. So, we would like to understand or know about your experience with working with one or more of your mentors that actually gave you a breakthrough. What makes having
Yeah.
mentors so
So,
important?
oh, I think it's very important. So my whole experience of working with a mentor actually came to me since I started my coaching journey. Okay, to be honest, before that, your boss may not necessarily be your mentor, but he or she is a leader who can guide you. When I started my coaching journey about a year back, that's when I realized the power of having a mentor who can actually guide you, coach you, and steer you in the direction that will actually bring out the best of you. Um, Over this last year, so there are my very senior coach, friend, mentor who I continuously consult with, who I speak to, who gives me different perspectives. And I think it's very important for people, especially at the leadership level, to have a mentor uh, who basically just gives you a different perspective, and then you can unravel things that you may not necessarily know about yourself. So extremely important to have a mentor. At least it has worked brilliantly for me, and I see the difference between what I was, let's say, 10 to 15 years back to what I am today. There is a huge difference in the way I think, I operate, and the way I believe in myself as well.
So, Sandhya, when you say I was a completely different person when I started than I am now, so take us through that journey. Who were you when you started, and how did you make that shift? We would like to understand, because many people are just starting in their journey, and then they're comparing their first day with someone, or like you say, 1 decade of experience. So, for the starters, if they're listening to you, how were you before and how did you progress?
Yeah, that's a very, very good question, and it's something that I reflect on myself a lot of times. See, what happens is when you're part of a certain corporate culture, or even when you're working as a consultant, uh, there tends to creep in a feeling that I know it all, all that I'm here to give solutions to people, and unknowingly, uh, it's a different mental space that you're part of, right? How I'm different now today is I'm open to understanding that the other person has innate strengths and gifts within that I just need to unravel. So, to give you an example, if I were to talk to the owner or to a business leader today, I would adopt the coaching mindset perspective, meaning I would talk to him or her with a view to unraveling what are the qualities that he or she has in himself. If I were to do this, let's say 2 years back, I would adopt a hardcore consulting approach and say, you know what, I know this better than you, and this is what you need to do. So the process of co-creation, the process of letting the entrepreneur or the SME know for himself or herself what will work well for the organization, for the team, there is a shift in that, in the way that I'm approaching these conversations, and that is a huge, and that has happened because I think uh, I have understood the power of coaching in that sense. I have understood, I've experienced what coaching can do in a very non-judgmental way, in a very partnering way, with whoever is it that you're talking to. And that is the shift that is important, and it's not easy, or it's a journey, Pratishtha. Let me also say that it's not something that comes to you overnight, right? There is an awareness, just like you implement the coaching principles in a conversation. if you can just sit and think back of how it has impacted you, you will realize that pauses, reflections, aha moments internally and within yourself can also lead to these small moments of change, small moments of transformation. So, all those who are starting new, I think one has to accept that it's a journey. Things will not change overnight, but the willingness to accept what's going on, to be aware of what's going on internally is what will make the difference. And I'm seeing that manifesting in my role as a consultant as well. There is a huge change. There is a different way or a different methodology that I'm adopting today, and that's purely thanks to what coaching has helped me become.
That, I think that's a wonderful journey that you are sharing, and the fact that you don't have to operate from a judgment point of view and understand that you don't know it all. That's very easy to say for us, but when it comes to doing, we end up using our judgment. The moment we are meeting someone, we are judging them. So Sandhya, when it comes to an entrepreneur mindset, how can coaching help an entrepreneur who has started or who has scaled up to a certain level but now needs to scale up? How would you use coaching plus consulting for helping them?
Yeah. We all know that the last 2 years have been absolutely mind boggling in terms of change, right? Let's face it, we are living in a VUCA world, highly volatile, complete complexity. There's a lot of ambiguity. Um, there is a lot of competition as well. There are so many small firms, so many small enterprises that fear the threat of being wiped out because of this whole complex scenario that we are in. Um, if you were to ask me what is the one thing that can shift the perspective of, and let's face it, any change that has to happen within an organization best happens when it comes top down. Once you see the leadership behaving, acting, being in a different way, uh, that culture is what will get implemented in levels below. Uh, since the pandemic and since the time that I have gotten into coaching, what I have seen is a huge scope for coaches to work with, especially the small and medium, because small and medium businesses, purely to help leaders gauge their own readiness and adaptability to these changing times. How can they, as leaders, work with this scenario? How can they work with their own emotions, their own insecurities, their own limiting beliefs? And what can they do differently to steer the people? Because there's a lot of confusion. People are uncertain, they're scared, right? Um, they don't know what will happen. Unlike big organizations, smaller organizations also, if you don't get your revenue flow or your cash flow month on month or quarter on quarter, it does impact salaries. There are companies that I've worked for which have had to unfortunately introduce salary cuts. That leads to a very different mental and emotional state of mind in the organization. What can a leader do to deal with that, right? I think this is something that coaching can help, that a coach can work a partner with SMEs and can really really change this perception of seeing how to harness that potential and how to work in a collaborative manner, and especially in a virtual world today. Not all offices have come back, right? There are people dispersed in different parts of the country or even different parts of the world. How can you work collaboratively using the same vision, the same mindset, the same culture, yet harness potentials of different people across? So, huge, huge, impactful intervention coaching.
So you mentioned a lot of things here about emotions, insecurity, limiting beliefs, and then how they need to deal with certain problems. Like you mentioned about the VUCA world, the VUCA, which is volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. So when you say that they need to deal with this, but many people don't agree that they have limiting beliefs. What they are saying is actually the truth. So if you have to give some tips to the entrepreneurs listening to this or the people listening to this, how can they understand whether their beliefs are actually limiting beliefs, or they are the truth as they see it?
See, I think the truth will obviously vary from, it's all, here, right? What is true for me may not be true for somebody else. But there are entrepreneurs who are struggling to retain the whole collaborative and business focused procedure of doing things post this pandemic. Uh, on the surface, things may seem completely hunky dory, right? Watch out for warning signs. Watch out for people showing a dip in energy levels. Watch out for projects getting delayed, right? Inability to really keep up with timelines, dip in efficiency, dip in quality. Here, I think your eyes and ears have to be completely aligned to what is happening. Also, how many touch points do you have with your employees? What are you doing about it? Are you constantly figuring out what people want? It could be through surveys, it could be through contact points with your employees. Ask them, ask them what they want, ask them what they think of the way that the organizations are going, business are going, what is impacting them. So it is a combination of the leader plus the HR team, I think, who has a huge role to play in assessing the mood and the where the problem is arising. But yes, it's difficult for a leader or for an entrepreneur to admit that I need coaching. Definitely, the only way that I would urge people is to go about it in a route of a discovery session, have a conversation, see where it takes you. If the person or if the client is completely coming from a closed space, that would not be the right time to really explore coaching. One of the things that you need is absolutely an open mind and readiness to even explore that, right? So the way I do it is that I have approached the clients who I work with, who are business leaders, who are entrepreneurs, and I check with them like, look, this is what coaching has to offer. Coaching is a partnership. It is a means of taking you to a level that you may not have even realized for yourself. Um, what happens to an organization when they engage in coaching? What happens when you deal with a coaching mindset? So my endeavor, Pratishtha, is to enable leaders to have a coaching mindset when they internally engage with their teams. So a coaching mindset is what will make or break an organization, because there you're actually partnering with the different stakeholders in your own organization, exploring possibilities, co-creating action, also ensuring that there is accountability and follow-up. So whatever you pick up as a coach, can you pass that on to leaders, to entrepreneurs? And I think what you also touched upon a very, very valid point, that is, can you do it in a manner that the leader or the client is not feeling unsafe and he's not feeling threatened, right? Because at the end of the day, he's heading a business. He'll say, I don't need coaching. Fair enough, right? It is a process of gradual discovery, a process of ensuring that um, it's not seen as something that you don't have and now you need to learn. It's something to enable him to or her to do better and to lead better. I hope I've answered that question.
Absolutely. So, Sandhya, when it comes to SMEs, you mentioned about giving them a coaching mindset, partnering with the client, and having an
Yeah.
accountability and follow up. So, you are basically telling the small business owners to develop their people to a certain level, but then there are insecurities that crop up. That if I make this person competent enough, they will leave us. So that I think that comes from a very scared mindset, and maybe their experiences also, that as soon as the employee working with a small company, they get certain level of expertise, the entrepreneur gets scared. Now this person will either ask me for a hike or leave me. So in that case, what can they do so that they don't operate from this point of scarcity, or you can say the point of insecurity, and build their people? What would be your advice for them?
Yeah, that this happens, right? Let's face it. Today, any money, time invested by a small business in hiring, training, getting the person to a level where he or she is productive, and suddenly the market is so dynamic today that everybody has multiple offers in hand. So, at what level, at what stage do you then say, uh, now that I've invested? And so, yeah, there is that fear continuously cropping up in one's mind. But I think what coaching can do is to shift that perspective of fear into a perspective of abundance, right? When you operate from a space of abundance, when you operate from a space of collaboration, co-creating, you are also seeing that my organization is not dependent on just one person. There are backups, and this will come about when you adopt a coaching mindset, when you're enabling not just one person, but maybe 30% of your team to a level where if one leaves, there is a backup built in, or there are people who will take on and run with it till the time that you get a fresh person hired. uh, it's not easy, Pratishtha. I'm not trying to say that it's a very easy task. It's not. But I think it is a slow systemic change that has to happen, with not just the leader, but also possibly with a few other people in the organization, level 2, level 3, and then see how as an organization the culture can be built around growth, around learning, and around operating from a space of abundance rather than from a space of fear and insecurity.
Absolutely, Sandhya. And I think that upshift in abundance mindset is what coaching and like proper amount of training can help the entrepreneurs as well. Because I believe that if you're not building your people, you are actually degrading your own future prospects. That is why so many companies are failing. So it becomes extremely important for them to build up their people, even if they're leaving. Like you mentioned, a very nice point here, that have backups, and that backup will only be there if there is a coaching culture, if people are ready to share what they have. And that insecurity somewhere has to go away from the top down approach. Like you mentioned, that any change that needs to be implemented starts with top down. So the leaders first need to get over their own securities, build a coaching culture, and then help the employees share their knowledge without insecurities, so that they can have backups. I think that's amazing knowledge and some really good take on.
Absolutely. In fact, yeah, if I can just add, I would also encourage a lot of SMEs and MSMEs to actually have work on an ecosystem. When I say ecosystem, not necessarily everybody has to be your employee. How are you partnering with different expertise? Like you could partner with someone for HR, you could partner with someone for some function that may not be your core, but essentially have an ecosystem around your organization that will enable that your core team is with you, and you plug into these different entities as and when you want to. It also saves cost. Let's be very honest. The cost of hiring, training, making a person productive is high when it comes to an SME, and that's always going to be the thought of an entrepreneur. So, going away from having everything within your organization to moving to a more plug and play kind of an ecosystem model, I think will also help leaders feel a lot more secure, and they can focus on their core competencies in the best possible way and leverage expertise of others uh, when they need to.
Absolutely. So, Sandhya, we would like to understand how, if any person is listening to this and they want to grow their business, can contact you for your consulting as well as coaching approach, which is, I think, relatively new. A lot of consultants are still transitioning into being a coach. So, if they want to get that from you, how can they contact you?
Yeah, I'll be very happy to connect with people. I think I'm enjoying this journey so much. I really want to go out there and help. And there is, I think, Indian economy today is really booming with people who have the passion and who have knowledge and just that expertise to go out there and make India into something that we've never experienced so far. People who want to contact me can definitely reach out to me at Sandhya at peoplesolutions.consulting. That's my email ID. My website is being made. In fact, we're just kind of revamping it. That'll be out in the next couple of weeks. And I'm there on LinkedIn as Sandhya Bhat. And yeah, I mean, I'll be happy to work with as many people and offer my services as a consultant and as a coach.
That's great, Sandhya. Thank you so much for being open, sharing your journey and experiences. I'm sure the people listening to it will certainly get some nuggets of information that can help them. And for your contact details, I'll put it in the comment box, in the comment section as well, so that anybody who wants to approach you, they can approach you. And thank you so much, all the wonderful audience listening to us. I'll be back again with another episode of Coaches on the Couch with another wonderful coach with you. Till then, I would say thank you, stay awesome, and stay blessed.